All right, everyone, we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, welcome. Thank you so much to those in the room and those joining online for attending this year's University Fellows Award reception. This is one of my favorite nights of the year because it really is a privilege to be here and celebrate the wonderful faculty that we have in this room. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Julia Diggins. I'm the Vice President for Development here at the Foundation, and am privileged to get to work with many of the donors who are supporting the work of the awesome faculty that we have in this room. So tonight, we have the honor of presenting both the University Fellow Awards and the Karlgaard Faculty Awards, recognitions that reflect our deep gratitude for the dedication, passion, and impact of our faculty. When you work in a role like this, we meet with alumni from across generations, across geographical locations, across disciplines. But one thing is always clear, that at the heart of their stories is typically a favorite professor. So time and time again, we hear how a faculty member challenged them, supported them, or changed the course of their lives. And please know that to those of you who are educators, you really do inspire and shape their futures, and they remember it for many, many years. And we also know that it's the work that you do that help us work with our alumni to give back in the ways that they do. They give back and invest in the university because they believe in what happens in your classrooms, in your research, and with your guidance. So thank you so much for that as well. We do not, unfortunately, have any donors in the room this evening, but we do have some joining online, and I do want to take a moment to recognize and thank them as well. So we're very, very grateful to all of you who've made an investment in UW-Eau Claire and in our faculty. So thank you for your belief in them and the transformational power of education as well. So the reason we created these awards is it's our way of saying thank you to you. Thank you to the faculty for your long hours, your commitment to excellence, and the unwavering support you provide to our students. So thank you and congratulations to all of the winners tonight. Without any further ado, I would like to welcome our Chancellor, Dr. Chancellor Jim Schmidt, to the stage for his remarks. Sorry about that, Chancellor.
Okay, not at all. I've been called a lot worse than all of those things. So, well, first of all, I decided to wear a tie with flowers today to force spring, and then I looked at the weather forecast as I was leaving. So there went that idea. You can blame me. But I have to tell you, faculty are the heart of every university. And because you plant seeds that either bloom sometimes while they're here and sometimes immediately after graduation, and sometimes it can be years after graduation. Being the dad of 3 sons, I know that in particular boys tend to develop at their own pace, and I'm told that sometimes it happens with daughters too, but I'm fresh off a high from yesterday. I am now a grandfather for the first day. So she was born a little after 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. I, of course, asked, when's the siblings coming? Because I'm all in. And they knew we were going to have a granddaughter, but they said, we don't want to tell you the name until you meet her. And so the family piled into the car and we went over to the Twin Cities to meet her. And so Maxine Faith, Maxine with a Y, it's always got to be a little bit different, Maxine Faith, and she's, of course, the most beautiful granddaughter I've ever seen. But it's about the future, isn't it? The educators who are in this room, and I'm speaking to everybody broadly as educators, but of course the faculty, you've dedicated your career, and God knows we don't pay you enough for the amazing transformational work that you do each and every day, not only in the classrooms, in your offices, in the research labs, taking a moment to notice somebody who might be struggling. It could be a student, it could be a colleague, because it's been a challenging time in higher ed. And it's been challenging, I hate to say, even going back into the 80s. And every day we kind of wonder how it is we get up the energy to go take on what needs to be taken on each and every day. And of course, it's the satisfaction of knowing we're making a difference. And I, didn't mean to get into the starfish story. I put that in my note I sent out to the campus. We maybe can't feel someday like it's overwhelming. We can't possibly save them all, but we know we make a difference to many, and we do it one at a time. So this award is very special. I congratulate the deans and their work of pulling the idea together and working with Julie and the foundation staff. And tonight is about celebration of your many contributions to this institution, to our students, and to our colleagues. And so I'm going to cut my remarks uncharacteristically short because I'd much rather hear the descriptions of the award recipients and obviously from the award, directly from the recipients as well. And a special shout out to our benefactors who are online. David Merrill and Karlgaard, are they online? I am looking forward to seeing you again soon, and to thank you to all the other benefactors that make this possible. This is the least we can do, and you do honor for this university through your great works of service. So thank you.
It's my honor to now introduce one of our first year, one of the first recipients that we had of the University of Fellows Awards, Dr. Josh Brown. He's going to talk a little bit about what he's been able to accomplish with his fellowship, and we're all looking forward to hearing more. So, yeah.
That works. Is this working? Yeah, good. Okay. I had to prepare notes because I was told to keep it under 15 minutes, and no one's been in my classes, but I love tangents, and otherwise we'd be here for a while if I did that. Sure. Thanks. Okay. So good evening. I'm here to share the research afforded to me as in my second year as a university fellow, and to show the ways that heritage languages in particular, which is what I work on, can benefit UW-Eau Claire and, more importantly, its future students. A heritage language is kind of a buzz term, I guess you could say, in linguistics, and it's a language that's spoken at home, but is not the dominant language of majority society. Heritage languages can be indigenous languages, immigrant languages, or refugee languages. And their speakers can range from fully proficient to fully receptive, as simply overhearing the language at home. There is an enduring myth in the US that languages divide us, that language is a divisive issue that holds hostage our very unity as a nation. In 1753, Benjamin Franklin said of the German immigrants in Pennsylvania that they are generally of the most ignorant, stupid sort who will soon outnumber us, that we will not be able to preserve our language. Those are my people, and well, I'm speaking English to everybody today, so that didn't come true. The Know-Nothing Party of the 1850s questioned the divided loyalties of hyphenated Americans, depicted here in a cartoon of the time. And President Theodore Roosevelt once opined, "We have room for but one language here, and that is the English language. Americans are not as dwellers in a polyglot boarding house." Despite all the political and social commentary about speakers of languages other than English, and heritage languages in particular, language actually unites the vast majority of Americans. I'm so thrilled to be the Skwarczynski University Fellow in Languages here. And here are Ray Skwarczynski's great-grandparents living in Clark County in the 1920s. with some of them speaking Polish in heritage language households. His wife Tammy's family are Scandinavian, living in Dunn County in the 1920s. And at the time, it seems the whole neighborhood is speaking Norwegian. Even our own Chancellor Schmidt traces back to a slew of German speakers in Iowa. His great-great-grandparents and their 5 children immigrated from Germany. And years after they arrived, they still had a number of children. Um, they were baptizing their children still in German, as recorded by this church entry, even though they were all being born in Iowa. These are our people, and they lived as heritage language speakers. So many of us in this room share that history. Language unites us in very special ways, meaningful, deep, rooted ways. And so our ancestors didn't abandon their languages as easily as some people might believe. Languages other than English lingered historically for generations. We know that our ancestors who spoke heritage languages didn't suddenly and magically stop speaking those languages and learn English. Work that I have been doing with, that I had done with a former student, Luca Ciletti, on generations of heritage language speakers show that it took a while for households to shift to English. This idea of coming off the boat and learning English is complete nonsense. The 1910 census of the town of Lincoln, which is near Eau Claire on the other side of Fall Creek, had over 10% of households claim to be German speaking. And the vast majority of those households had members who had been living in the US for over 20 years. But that's not the full story either. Because even so-called English-speaking households probably weren't. If we take the household of Hermann and Emma Steinke as an example, Hermann was born in Wisconsin, his wife Emma in Germany, but both are listed as speaking English. Their 2 children, though, and 2 servants all spoke German. So little Ewald here and Teresa, being 3rd generation heritage language speakers in Eau Claire County, most certainly were tucked into bed by bilingual parents in German. Luca and I also worked on generations of correspondence from the Schlegelmilch family in Eau Claire, who had the fortune to build the first brick home in the city, which you can still visit today. This entrepreneurial family that arrived here in the 19th century kept German going well into the 20th century. The Wisconsin-born children continued writing in German to their parents. Their children remembered their elders with familial terms of endearment in German, like Dear Tante. And then when World War II ended, even though the Schlegelmilchs had been in the US for over a century, they struck up German correspondence once again with very distant relatives seeking aid in war-torn Germany. The language continued to be a persistent idea in this family. This semester, my German translation course will be translating letters that Anna Seifert sent to her son. Anna's seated in the picture here. She sent to her son, who had just started studying at UW-Madison, and she was writing from the family's dairy farm in Dodge County. And we can learn, and so we can learn a lot about what heritage speakers are doing with their language, how quickly or slowly, or the extents to which they learned English. Language, when it ties you to home, isn't so easy to give up. And it's not just work on German that we're doing, even though I teach German. I've been engaged in a large-scale digitization and translation project of several generations of hundreds of letters written in Danish from Luck, Wisconsin, which is just north of us in Polk County. This work is in conjunction with the University of Copenhagen and the University of Flensburg. And we're seeing some really cool things happen that these heritage language, well, cool things for me, that these heritage language speakers are doing, using all of their language resources, just as bilinguals do today, with things like code switching going back and forth between, whatever language and English. So you can see here on this example that I'll just do it on the thing here. They're talking about going to Stillwater. Men han skuld har bort kort till Stillwater, men det had en breakdown 4 miles from Askov, right? So it's interesting to see that the things that we see linguistically that heritage language speakers are doing today, they have done consistently in United States history. Likewise, I've been doing the same thing with Swedish letters from the upper Midwest, primarily from Parker's Prairie and from Scandia in Minnesota, with researchers at the University of Uppsala. And here again is a third-generation heritage language speaker living in Tennessee, who's writing back to her pen pal in Parker's Prairie, Minnesota, in bold letters to skriv snart, write back soon, and of course in Swedish. The heritage language landscape in Wisconsin looks very different today, but it is nonetheless still very full of heritage language speakers. Wisconsin is home to refugee heritage languages. Eau Claire is one of the 6 counties in the state with a Hmong population representing over 2% of the total population. And a former student, Ben Carpenter, and I did ethnographic work in Barron, where there are now nearly 600 Somali refugees and their descendants, a community that has been growing there since the 1990s, such that local institutions have incorporated Somali language signage alongside Spanish and English. By far, the largest heritage language speakers today are Spanish-speaking. Eau Claire and the surrounding counties continue to show high population densities of Spanish heritage language speakers. The latest census data is shown on the map. And just immediately to our south, in Trempealeau County, shown in red, has experienced one of the fastest Spanish-speaking growths in the state, with a net change of 450% more Spanish speakers than a decade ago. That comes as no surprise when you drive through Trempealeau County. Today, the increase in Spanish speakers appear prominently in the linguistic landscape, as shown on these bilingual signs, these bilingual photographs that I took last summer in Arcadia and Galesville. Although, again, heritage languages have always been a visual representation in Trempealeau's linguistic landscape. The Forenet Kirke, which is on the left-hand side here, Norwegian for United Church, with its Norwegian name both on the photograph and above the church's doorway in Pigeon Falls, Trempealeau County, and Osio's Norwegian Isenkrama Boutique ice cream store. Both the sign and the churches, the sign on the church and the sign on the business have since been destroyed, but they nonetheless once marked the languages of immigrants, just as Spanish language signs do today. Although these multilingual signs come and go, they have been vital to Wisconsin in displaying our linguistic diversity. This early 20th century image from downtown Black River Falls shows that legacy. With writing on a post in the immigrant language Norwegian, right alongside the indigenous heritage language, Ho-Chunk. We still hold on to those visual cues of our heritage languages in symbolic ways. Whitehall, also in Trempealeau County, welcomes its visitors in Norwegian, and you can't go 5 feet, it seems, without being invited to a lutefisk dinner, a Norge harvest dinner, or a Lefse drive-through in this part of the state. I've had the fortune to work with a few students on those symbolic ways of cultural transmission in heritage language communities, with Rachel Hippus on Dutch in the Fox River Valley and Kitty Stewart on Pantau flower cloth among Hmong refugees. Wisconsin's English language learners have increased by over 78% since 2001, and heritage languages are spoken in nearly 10% of our households here. We are at a critical juncture for many of these communities as the second and third generations reach adulthood. As an example, the Somali population in Barron is bursting with college-aged young adults, the children of its first residents. These are the individuals who could attend college, but most heritage language speakers don't. And what's painful is that we know why. Informational, economic, psychological, and cultural barriers prevent heritage language speakers from continuing their education at the university level. We know, though, that those who do enroll have much better retention rates if they are exposed to the heritage language cultures, including the language, in meaningful ways. And we know that keeping the language around, what we call additive bilingualism, corresponds with higher test scores, less dementia and brain decay, more emotional intelligence, and greater confidence. We have a major underserved population of Wisconsin literally at our doorstep. Knowing the challenges that face heritage language students, both in enrollment and retention, and actually working to combat that, can make this university a center for heritage language students and heritage language studies. Making UW-Eau Claire the heritage language school means preparing more TESOL educators and bilingual professionals. As our cooperation with other organizations like Mayo Clinic grows, we can support future heritage language professionals and their patients, leading to improved patient outcomes, a reduction in medical errors and rehospitalization, increased patient autonomy, and a reduction in healthcare disparities. Literally at our doorstep, both generations ago and again today, that makes Eau Claire unmatched from the rest of the state. So I'd like to close by sharing the story of another heritage language speaker, my great-grandfather, listed here in the 1870 census. My people were dirt poor, except they didn't own any of their dirt. They rented it and worked as day laborers in cottage industries. Now, those hash marks in the rightmost columns tell a story. My great-grandfather Charles and his sister are checked off as attending school. In that year, their local government decided that taxpayers would pay for the education of poor children in the county. For the first time in my family's history, the children avoided the fate of their parents who were unable to read and write, which are the other hashtags on the right. They were saved from rolling cigars with their teenage brother and sister. I think aside from shared heritage language stories in this room, I'd venture to guess that everyone here believes strongly in the value of public education. Just as my great-grandfather benefited from donors to his own education, so too can our work here. We have the opportunity to make heritage languages an integral part of the Eau Claire story. Our regional public university can transform the lives of heritage language speakers. It certainly did for me. Thank you.
Josh, that was excellent. Thank you. Thanks for being willing to share with us. And I know that Ray and Tammy, I know you're watching and smiling as well. That was really cool. So thank you. I would now like to invite Dean Abbott Anderson to make a few remarks on behalf of the deans. The deans. Yeah.
Good evening. On behalf of the deans, I'd like to extend our welcome to you. And I want to share that probably one of my very first memories coming to UW-Eau Claire was immediately immersing myself in the midst of reviewing our first group of fellowship awardees. I have since had the honor of participating in 2 subsequent fellowship award processes. And I remember at that time when I was brand new, how impressed I was by the opportunity to award these fellowships to our faculty. And I was heartened by the fact that this university must value their faculty very much to have such an award. The impetus for these awards arose out of recognition that our faculty are incredibly dedicated and they're accomplishing innovative work every day in their teaching, with their students, in their scholarship, and in their connections with our communities. These fellowships represent a partnership of sorts between the foundation, the chancellor, and the deans in recognizing and putting a spotlight on the outstanding work that is being accomplished on this campus. And these fellowships would not be possible without the generosity of our donors who see this work and recognize the value of supporting these faculty. So I want to immediately take a moment and say thank you, thank you, thank you to our donors. We're grateful beyond words. Without your support, our fellows would not be experiencing the level of success and accomplishment that they are. And of course, those of you online, if you've not had the opportunity to explore the possibility of establishing a faculty fellowship, I'm sure that someone in the foundation would be very happy to speak with you. So how does a fellowship support faculty? For many of our awardees, this fellowship is an opportunity to pursue important research or creative activities or community work that might not be possible without such support. It's an opportunity for our faculty to engage in innovative work that challenges conventional thinking and expands the knowledge base in their disciplines. It's what's possible when you have the freedom and support to explore your academic passions. So the faculty who are selected for these fellowships are exactly what you would hope for faculty to be. They are the passionate, engaged members of our campus community that actively look for ways to engage students into their research, to mentor students, and to role model professional behavior. They are the mentors to other faculty and staff, and they demonstrate their action through their values. These are the faculty members whose impact on students is remembered. And I think, Julia, you mentioned that in your opening statement. And I bet you if I asked each one of you, you'd be able to think of at least one faculty member whom you remember and who has had a lasting impact on your life. These are the faculty that we're honoring this evening. Our first fellow in the College of Nursing is a wonderful example of what the impact of a fellowship can be. With fellowship funds, this faculty member has pursued her postmaster's certificate in nursing informatics, which is a specialty focus that uses data and technology to communicate information about patients. We're already seeing the benefits of this fellowship awardees work. She first chose to work with undergraduate students, completing a manuscript on social determinants of health, which she published with her students and which have been presented widely. Currently, she's working with our Doctor of Nursing Practice students in elevating their doctoral projects so that the outcomes of their projects are much more clearly presented. In my experience, I believe that these fellowships come just at the right time. They provide a boost to the faculty members' research, teaching, and service. And these fellowships offer a tangible way to say your work is seen and your work is valued. And faculty are retained, which is so important. So I'm going to end with just a brief behind the scenes glance at the review process that we employ for these fellowships. The deans have the welcome challenge of reviewing each application, and we value this process because through it, we get to see the expanse of what our faculty is doing across campus. From innovative research projects that often involve student researchers, to creative works, to enhancing teaching skills and pedagogy, to connections across campus and in our communities. None of this would have been apparent to us without the fellowship review process. To say that this process is rewarding would be an understatement. And because we receive consistently strong applications, many, many more than we have fellowships to award, we meet together to discuss each application. And the conversation goes a little bit like this. Hey, let me tell you about the amazing work this person's doing over here. Well, I can see the remarkable trajectory that this person has for their research. And yet another is being an incredible mentor in their department. And these high quality applications definitely make our task difficult. But you know what? The hope we have for our university when we see the vast and incredible work being done here, it's boundless. So I can say from a personal perspective, and I think that my dean colleagues would agree, that we're truly honored to be able to see all of the amazing work being done on our campus. It's truly inspirational to bear witness to what our faculty is accomplishing. And these fellowship awards are a tangible way to recognize the best of the best. Please join me in expressing our gratitude to our donors and our congratulations to this evening's recipients.
So we've talked a lot about the University Fellow Awards, and this being our third year. Before we even started the University Fellows Program, Dave and Marilyn Karlgaard recognized the importance of supporting faculty. And so in addition to the new University Fellow Awards, we'd also like to announce and recognize this year's Karlgaard faculty recipients. So we're going to start there, and in just a little bit of a detour from the program, I'm going to ask Dr. Brisbane to the front of the room to give out the Karlgaard Faculty Excellence Award in Mathematics.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to nominate Dr. Sam Scholze for one of 3 Karlgaard Faculty Awards for 2024-25. Dr. Scholze holds a PhD in mathematics from Texas A&M University. He has been a member of the UW-EC Mathematics Department since 2017, first as a visiting assistant professor, and now since 2020 as an assistant professor. Dr. Scholze's research focuses on the applied math problem of reconstructing a signal, such as an audio recording or an MRI image, from data sampled from the signal at irregular intervals. This is important for ensuring the fidelity of digital images to the analog, real-world objects they represent, as well as for recovering data that has been partially erased or corrupted by noise. Dr. Scholze is active in involving students in his research. He has mentored 6 undergraduate students in research projects since 2017. In addition to presenting their research at UW-EC's Celebration of Excellence in Creative Activity, several of Dr. Scholze's students have presented at state or national conferences. It's especially impressive that Dr. Scholze has 2 publications with his past undergraduate research students. The paper Stability Bounds for Reconstruction from Sampling Erasures in the journal Operators and Matrices was co-written by former student Tyler Gonzalez, and a book chapter titled Bridging Past, Present, and Future, co-written by former student Houston Wilhite, has been accepted for publication in a volume honoring Dr. Akram Aldrubi. Dr. Scholze's teaching also exemplifies his dedication to excellence in applied mathematics. He's a key contributor to our department's major in statistics and applied mathematics through his teaching of applied math courses such as Math 312, Differential Equations and Linear Algebra, Math 313, Digital Signal Processing, and Math 354, Mathematical Modeling. Math 312 in particular is a popular class that also serves students in the physics, material science and engineering, and biomedical engineering majors, where they apply mathematics to solve problems in science and engineering. Dr. Scholze is a dedicated and innovative instructor who assigns student projects to give students practice applying their mathematical skills to real-world problems. For example, in Math 354, he asks students to model the financial consequences of buying a house versus renting an apartment and investing the remainder of the money, an application of math modeling that is well suited to engage the interest of students who are looking forward to earning money after graduation. In Math 313, Dr. Scholze encouraged his students to use the computer code they wrote for their project to solve questions on the take-home final exam. This is a clever way to tie together these two forms of assessment and provide students with a sense of accomplishment for their work on the project. Dr. Scholze is an outstanding researcher and teacher in the field of applied mathematics. He is greatly deserving of a Karlgaard Faculty Award.
All right, perfect. Nice smile. Good. Good. And thank you.
Next, I would invite Dr. Alex Smith to present the Karlgaard Faculty Excellence Award in Computer Science.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Mounika Vanamala as one of this year's recipients of the Karlgaard Faculty Award. Dr. Vanamala is a professor in our computer science department and joined UW-Eau Claire in fall 2021. Now in her fourth year, she has already made significant impact through her research and teaching and mentorship. Her expertise lies in cybersecurity, deepfake detection, and a wide range of applications in the realm of artificial intelligence known as machine learning. Her research is both applied and diverse, with an impressive publication record. One example that highlights her innovative approach is a paper, Heart Murmur Predictions with Machine Learning, co-authored with Dr. Salia and an undergraduate collaborator. In this study, they applied 3 machine learning techniques and a deep learning model to analyze the dangerous heartbeat data set, helping to identify patterns that indicate heart murmurs. Dr. Vanamala is also a dedicated and effective teacher, engaging students at all levels. She teaches everything from introductory computer programming to advanced courses such as database systems and software engineering too. Beyond the classroom, she's an outstanding mentor. In the 2023-24 academic year alone, she collaborated with 12 undergraduates on research projects, an incredible testament to her commitment to student success. There's a saying, if you want something done, ask a busy person. And if you know Mounika, you know that she is one of the busiest and most accomplished faculty members we have. So please join me in congratulating Dr. Mounika Vanamala on this well-deserved recognition.
Follow the glitter in the windows. Good. Thank you.
Next, I believe that the Dean of Arts and Sciences, Dr. Alex Sternfeld-Dunn, is going to give the next Karlgaard Award on behalf of his chair, Dr. Eric Hendrickson.
Yes, Eric Hendrickson, Chair of Physics, is unable to be here tonight. He is on dad duty, so I have been put in charge of this great honor. So I will say before, Eric did provide me a little writing, but I thought I would just say this one personal thing first. It was a couple of months ago, my wife and I, who are both musicians, were at a fundraiser for the Chippewa Valley Symphony Orchestra, sat at a table with Nathan, and in that conversation, Nathan was talking about the sound waves, I think, of space, right? And with these planets. And my wife and I were, as we were walking out to our car, my wife says, how do you handle just being around these super smart people all the time? And my answer was, because I don't have to pretend to know anything that they're talking about. I just get to sit and listen to people be excited talking about the things that are important to them. And one of the things that I value greatly about Nathan is his ability to make science fun and exciting and sound. When he starts talking, it's like, this is really, really cool. I don't know what you're talking about, but I think it's really cool. So from Eric, here's how he started. Nathan is an all-around amazing professor. He recently finished up a sabbatical where he was able to dig back into his research on measuring the X-ray emissions from the powerful winds of hot stars. He has now mentored over 20 undergraduate students in many different types of research projects, including the physics of sound and the science of human vision, and published 17 articles in peer-reviewed journals. He enjoys teaching, which you can tell from the positive reactions of his students. They love his interesting and humorous puns, and at one point, a group of them wrote many of the funniest puns out on paper and plastered them all over his office door. Nathan also participates in fascinating outreach endeavors, such as Astronomy Day, and showing people the wonders of the night sky from the roof of Phillips Hall, which I'm sure you'd be willing to do for any of you here. Faculty and students alike enjoy many conversations with him in our seminar room during the lunch hour and cookie time. He is definitely a liberal arts and sciences teacher.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Sure. I've been asked to make the transition. Hold on, before we do that. Okay, I'd like to ask Tyler Doyon to come on up to the stage, the faux stage. So Tyler Doyon is the recipient of the 2025 Grace Lau, I'm gonna get the exact name right, Grace Lau Early Career STEM University Fellow. I'd like to say a few words about Tyler as I have you sitting up here. I will tell you, there is no right way to be an assistant professor. When you are in that first stage of your career, you're gonna get a lot of advice, you're gonna get a lot of pathways to what success looks like. But what I'm deeply appreciate about Tyler in his just few short years here is he's gone the route that not every assistant professor chooses. Some assistant professors operate in this world of which every question that they get posed with is, well, does this help me get tenure or does this hurt me in getting tenure, right? But that's not Tyler. It seems to me from where I stand that your perspective is, does this help me be a better colleague or does this somehow not help me be a better colleague? Tyler, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, he's an excellent researcher. And in fact, in his letter of recommendation by one of his colleagues, Dr. Bart Dahl, talks about students, there's so many students who wanna work with Tyler, Tyler has to turn some of them away. And in fact, one of the advantages to this award is it's gonna let him take on more student researchers, right? So Tyler's an excellent researcher in getting students involved. He's an excellent teacher, he always does well. But the thing that's most impressive to me is that he is an incredible colleague to the department. He has made himself a part of the community right away. And not all assistant professors do that. We've had some challenging staffing issues come up in the department recently in the last year or two. Most assistant professors, we would say, hey, just focus on your classes. And Tyler jumped in, how can I help? I'll teach on overload. I'll take these classes over. You know, I'm sort of adjacent to this. I can do this, right? And with a spirit of excitement and a spirit of, I can do this and I want to help, the impact ripples across the department and actually changes, I think, the the environment in a way that can only be done by people who are willing to just step in and say, let me help, which is not always the energy of an assistant professor. So I just want to say on behalf of the deans, when we were reading these applications, yours was one that sort of demonstrated not only someone who had a really clear thought out way in which these resources are going to benefit you professionally, not only did you demonstrate your excellence in research and your excellence in teaching, but I think you've demonstrated that you are a Blugold, like right away, right? And that you're here to be a part of our community. And you're one of the people I think will be a future leader in our college. So we were just delighted to see your application. I'm delighted to present you with the Grace Lau Early STEM Award. So congratulations.
Room is horrible. Okay, a little close together. All right, nice smiles. Here we go. Good. 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 Thank you.
All right, David Jones, please come on up. So Dr. David Jones is the recipient of the 2025 Blugold Excellence in Teaching University Fellow. As I said about Tyler, I think he will be a future leader in the college. I can think of few people at this university who have had the impact that David Jones has had, both on the college, the university, the community of Eau Claire, in every way imaginable. As a researcher, deeply involved in the research of literature, and also thinking about that literature as a way of sort of social justice and helping us better understand communities, especially minoritized communities. As a teacher, he has been someone who the students just love. They've been impacted by him in every way. When you read student evaluations of classes that David has taught, I mean, they're glowing. They're glowing. And as a colleague, I have worked with David in my just 4 years. My second year here, we had the need to hire an interim chair for history. David is an English professor. As we were thinking about people who might serve in this role, my associate dean said, "What about David Jones?" So I reached out to David. Absolutely, I'm there. We had this moment where we needed an interim chair for English. While he was chairing history, he said, "Yeah, I'll do that." As we've dealt with various challenges on our campus in various ways, David has been both a voice of reason, but also a voice to push us to be better and to do better. What I've appreciated about all of the work that David does is it's not a passive sit and watch and go, you could be doing that better. It's a let me get my hands dirty with you. Let me help this be better. Let me help us do better. Let me help this institution be better. Let me help the community be better. I think you can ask almost anyone on this campus, and in one way or the other, David Jones has touched their life. And we're fortunate for that. And we're glad to give you this award. And I know it's the Teaching Excellence Award. I can think of no better teacher in the classroom. So congratulations, David.
All right, nice smiles. Here we go. Good. Good. And thank you.
Now, Dr. Lisa Jepson from the College of Business.
Julia, please make a note. I do not want to follow Alex next time. Francis, come on up. I am very excited to award the Early Career Teaching Fellow Award to Dr. Frances Hawes. She is an assistant professor in HCAD. So HCAD stands for Healthcare Administration. And for those of you who are not familiar with our program, I have a special, special spot in my heart for HCAD because I have ridiculous longevity in my family. I hope I don't leave here and get hit by a bus and they're like, say, she flaunted the fact that she was going to live to be 100, and then that bus just had a whole other idea. So these are the folks who train our young students to go out and lead in long-term healthcare programs. They do an amazing job. So let me tell you a little bit about Frances and the amazing work that she does. I was looking up in your offer letter and I saw that you got your offer letter in December of 2019. And she came in the fall of 2020 and she still came. So as you would imagine, for someone who has that type of start to their career, Frances excels in all modalities. I think she can teach hybrid, face-to-face, asynchronous, synchronous. She can probably spell all those words too. So we're so happy to have you here and providing amazing teaching in all the different ways that we ask our faculty to teach in these days. She teaches courses about the US healthcare system, and she teaches an overview course, a quality management course, and a leadership course. She's recently been a mentor in the Mayo Innovation Challenge, which is an exciting event on our campus where students and faculty from all walks across campus worked with Mayo personnel who identified problems that they were trying to solve. Now, she had one of the less blood and guts types of examples. I could have helped with this one. I can't do the other, but they were looking at ways to try to find a way to find the lost wheelchairs, right? Wheelchairs come and they get lost as you go about your business. Like many of the awardees we've heard from today already, Frances is also passionate about helping her students get involved in her research. She has had students present in the Minnesota Gerontological, I practiced that one, Society, published in industry journals. She has created an international fellows program where she has had her HCAD students going to England and going to Spain this coming winter. She has worked with 28 undergraduate students already on research. And this is where I started to have to take a nap. She has 12 articles. I had to lie down. I was feeling winded. She has 12 articles. She's published in 7 proceedings, numerous presentations. Her research, a lot of it is focused on looking at healthcare providers in long-term care situations. So I can think of few things as important and admirable as studying burnout, stress, and depression in the people who take care of our vulnerable populations in these long-term care facilities. So make sure that those students learn my name and that they're very compassionate because that's probably where I'll be using some of those. She plans to use the award to expand her work with students, particularly in the area of grief support in long-term care facilities. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Frances Hawes.
Yeah, there it is. You guys nailed it. It's perfect. I love it. Nice smiles. Here we go. Good, good, and thank you.
Before we take off this evening, I just want to recognize a few more folks in the room. One, we've had all of the deans to the stage except for one this evening. So I want to make sure that we also recognize Dr. Carmen Manning, who's here as well. So thank you. Yep. And then we have a cohort of former recipients, university fellow recipients here as well. So if you are a university fellow recipient from a former year and you're here, could you stand up so we could recognize you all as well? Thank you for continuing to come here and support the program and answer Sheila's emails when she's reaching out to you. We really appreciate it. And then Sheila brings me to the last group I want to recognize, which is the foundation employees who are here tonight as well. Many of you may not have had the chance to meet our new president, Kurt Krzan, who's here. So want to thank you, Kurt, for coming tonight and showing your support. We also have other foundation employees here as well. So with the foundation employees, I won't make you stand, but just a little wave. These are the folks who are not only reaching out and asking for support, but making sure that all of our I's are dotted, T's are crossed, that we can offer a program like this. So thanks to all of you. I know that appreciate that as well. So thanks again to all of you for coming. Please feel free to stay and mingle if you want. Otherwise, I know it's a Monday evening and we've kept you here late, but thanks again to those of you who have helped make this program possible in one way or another. We're just so grateful. So have a wonderful evening, everybody.